my name is Jay, and this guy here is Max, and today I'm going to tell you some baby names that I liked but didn't end up using. I've seen many other lifestyle channels do a video like this, but I've always seen them from the mom's perspective, so I thought it might be a little bit different to come at it from the dad's perspective. Alright, so first up, I have a short list of girl names that I'm going to go through. Before we knew Max what his gender was going to be, we basically picked a girl name that we both agreed on, my wife and I both agreed on and liked a lot right off the bat. So we don't have a long list of these, but I'm going to go through a couple, some that I liked, some that she liked, and then ultimately what Max would have been had he been a girl. So first up, a couple that my wife really liked a lot, starting with Amaya. She said she's always liked that name. Not a name that I have an issue with, but not a name that I was thrilled with either. She also really liked the name Mika, spelling that M-E-E-K-A. I don't mind the name Mika, but I don't love that spelling of it. I don't know. I didn't really think about it a lot because we ultimately didn't rest on that name long, but I would have wanted to spell it differently, just not sure how. My wife also really liked the name Lily. That was a favorite name of hers for a long time. Again, not one that I minded, but not one that I particularly loved either. All right, and I really only had, besides the name we would have ended up picking, I really only had one girl name that I've always liked a lot, and that's Max is being uncooperative, and that is the name Larkin. I've always just really liked that name, but my wife, not so much. She absolutely hates that name. No offense to any Larkins out there. And the name that would have been your name, Max, if you had turned out to be a girl that we would have picked was the name Aria. This was a name that I really liked. It's a name that my wife really liked. However, we did differ about how to spell it. I wanted to go with the traditional Game of Thrones spelling of it, with the A-R-Y-A. She wanted to go with the more normalized Pretty Little Liars spelling of it, with A-R-I-A. So she probably would have won that battle. However, I would have fought it out to the end to try to keep it with the A-R-Y-A. Right, and our list of boy names is actually a lot longer because I think both my wife and I, when we first found out that she was pregnant, we both just kind of had this feeling that Max was going to be a girl. And like I said, we picked that girl name really early in the process. Actually, we had kind of agreed on that being a girl name that we liked before she ever got pregnant. So when we found out that Max was going to be a boy, we had some name splurging to do because we didn't really have a whole lot picked out as far as boy names we liked. So I'll go through a list of names that she liked, a list of names I liked, and then kind of our final ones before we got to Max. Alright, so first up, names that my wife liked that I didn't particularly care for. She really liked the name Maddox. She also liked the name Liam a lot. She was a fan of the name James. I was vehemently against the name James. No offense to any Jameses out there, but was not going to be the name of my son. She also really liked the name Leo. Not that I mind the name Leo, but I just didn't see him being a Leo. She also really liked the name Nico, N-I-K-O, which is a neat, fun, interesting name, but ultimately not one that I really agreed upon either. And she also really liked the name Lennox, L-N-N-O-X, like Lennox Lewis, the boxer. Lennox Lewis, the boxer, was one of my favorite boxers of all time. But for some reason, just don't like that name a lot, especially for my son. I actually have friends that name their daughter Lennox, and I think it actually works cuter as a girl name. And now for some names that I liked but my wife didn't like, and first on that list, this wasn't ever really a serious contender, but I like the name, and that was Falcon. I came across it in like an unconventional baby name list somewhere. I'm like, that's kind of a cool boy's name, Falcon. And along those same lines, another one that I really liked that my wife absolutely would not have gone for, and ultimately would never have been a real contender, but still a cool name, was Wolf. I really liked the name Wolf. And a couple other names that I really liked. I really liked the name Luke or Lucas, especially, you know, going with a Star Wars theme there, like that name Luke. But alas, my wife did not like that name. And I also like kind of a variation of it, the name Lucian. I think is really cool. Lucian, call him Luke for short. But yeah, ultimately that was not to be either. And these next names were names that my wife and I both agreed on, and that were in our serious contender list, if you will. Starting kind of from the bottom to what we almost named Max instead of Maxwell. So first up on that list is the name Booker. Really like the name Booker for both bourbon reasons and historical reasons. And surprisingly, my wife really liked that a lot too. When I kind of floated that out there to her, she was surprisingly a lot more receptive to it than I thought she would be. One of the reasons we ultimately moved away from the name Booker is that obviously sometimes when you play these name games and you're trying to think of baby names, you think of how other kids might use that name to make fun of them. And we were kind of afraid that they would call him Booger instead of Booker, and that would be kind of an easy target for him there. Another one, a bit of an unconventional name that we both kind of liked a lot, was the name Bowie, like David Bowie, but Bowie is the first name, B-O-W-I-E. We both kind of really liked that for, I'd say, a couple of days, and then we kind of moved away from it, but a pretty cool name. What do you think? Would you have made a good Bowie? Would you have been a good Bowie? Now these next ones were all serious contenders. I floated the name Thomas. That was the name of my wife's late father, and she liked the idea, but also was afraid that would also make her sad, and she never wanted to have like a sad feeling when, you know, thinking of her son. So we actually ended up using Thomas, and Max actually has two middle names, so Thomas is one of his two middle names. So we still ended up using that name. This next one is my favorite boy name going into the whole process, one that I really liked a lot, and that is the name Theodore. I love the idea of the name Theodore, shortening it with either Theo or Teddy. And my wife didn't mind the Theodore, and she didn't mind Theo as a shortened version, but she just didn't really like the name Teddy as a shortened version, or Ted either. So that's one of the main things that kind of kept us from using Theodore. And this last one was a really close contender. It really came down to the wire between this name and ultimately Maxwell, what we chose, and that's the name Dexter. Even though the name Dexter might conjure up the image of a serial killer that has a code, we both really liked the name Dexter, and some of our family members really liked the name Dexter as well. And like I said, it was kind of the leader in the clubhouse for a long time as far as our names go. And then we got to a certain point, because we had Maxwell on that list as well, and where Dexter had led as being kind of our favorite for a while. And then as it kind of got closer and closer, I think we both just kind of had this feeling that Maxwell was the name. And we both agreed on it. Like, there was really no debating back and forth. We both kind of had that same feeling that Dexter started to kind of fall, Maxwell started to go up, and we really just started to think of that baby in her belly as being baby Max. And I think we picked the right name. I think it's a perfect fit. I think he really is a Max, so I'm glad we went with it. So Max is being fussy, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can follow Max and myself on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bourbon and a Baby on all those platforms. Last but not least, you can buy some Bourbon and a Baby merchandise at our shop on Spreadshirt. Put the link in the description below. Can you wave bye-bye? Say bye? No, he's not feeling it today. Just did that. You see yourself? Who's that cute little guy? Can you say hi?